Were you ever fearful of religious life? And if so, how did you respond to that?
Oh, that's a good question. So I remember the sisters at our church, and I remember the kindness of a sister who was teaching kindergarten at the time. It was a sense that God is, I have my parents, but like that my primary relationship is with God, like a parent in a sense, and that if I'm serious about my relationship with God, that might be what God was calling me. So it wasn't like I felt compelled to become a nun, but it was a thought that entered my life that if I was sincere about my relationship with God, that this might be a way that God was calling me. So I'm second eldest, so my younger siblings, I didn't really feel I had to explain to them or anything too much somehow. But my parents, I chose to speak to them separately because I thought they might have different reactions. I had the sense, I knew my mom would be pretty much thrilled because she was very involved in their parish. And my dad, so he was not Catholic, he's Ukrainian Orthodox, and though he came to church with us, he has lots of, he's passed on now, but had lots of questions about faith. So I didn't think it would be very easy for him to accept it. But he said what I think he would have said to each of us is that I will support you in what you do, in your choice. If it's important to you, then you certainly have my support. And I was very grateful for that. And certainly my parents have been very supportive along the way, all of my family. In fact, I have wonderful places to spend my holidays with. In visiting each of my family members, they've been very supportive. I think I was afraid to take that first step, for sure. And I was thinking, well, when is the right time? When is a good time? I felt it would be good to have a bit of experience. I graduated from grade 12 pretty young. What helped was really the grace of God, because I had a friend who had entered sooner, and she called me one evening, and the novice directress in our community got on the line and said, well, so wait, when are you? I didn't even know her really. But she said, I understand you're interested. When are you going to come? And I was like, okay, this is good questions. Yeah, I was afraid to take that first step. Yeah, probably that I wanted to, I felt that there could be some judgment towards me if I tried it and it didn't work. That if this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm discerning, but if it doesn't work, how do I make sense of that as well in my own relationship with God? Yeah, I'd have to say that I felt very comfortable with the life. It was joyful, and I enjoyed being with the sisters. It was a slower pace than maybe a young person is used to, but it was, we probably spent more time around the table, having discussions together, getting to know each other better, and so that was joyful. I think there's only so much you can discern from afar, and then one needs to take the step. Jesus said, let down your nets, trust in me. That can only be really done once you take that step, once you enter deeply, with realistic abandon to say that I am going to give this my best. I trust that God has led me here. And for me, it was a very enriching experience. Yeah, probably more so in my 20s. I think when I turned 30, that seemed like a big milestone because it's that kind of midlife where my friends were getting married and having children. After that, I was convinced, I suppose, of I was offering my life in a different way, and that I could offer my gifts in my life in a different way. Probably obedience would stand out to me, that I had to check with someone when I was leaving the house or wanted to do something else that would interrupt the schedule. That was a hard one to swallow. I think one grows into that. I mean, it's, again, it's part of discernment. So I grew in understanding all of that and seeing that as beautiful. I would have to say, and I've often thought this, that our evening prayer is a wonderful time, because after we do a formal evening prayer, and we have some additional community prayers, and then we just have time for intercessory prayer and praying for others, intercessory prayer, and we really feel kind of united to the world through our time of prayer. That's a beautiful time for me. Oh, that's so much fun. First of all, we have great students at Newman College. They want to be here. They want to be studying theology. And so I also teach them pastoral theology and moral theology. Bioethics is a love of mine, and there's so many interesting areas and so many important areas right now for people to be considering. So I find that my healthcare background really helps to kind of become very specific about things that are happening. Pastorally, I teach an introduction to pastoral theology for the students. So that's fun to get them thinking about what some of the challenges might be when they enter into ministry, both in terms of self-care and preparing themselves well, not just with their theology degrees, but with human and spiritual formation. Yeah, so first of all, I mean, it's important to have a spiritual director and people that they can confide in so that they can express their fears, because not the good spirit, but the other spirit kind of works with our fears sometimes and makes them bigger than they are. But to be able to articulate what they are will also help us to create a plan around that. I mean, maybe there's a good thing about a fear because maybe there's, for some reason, something that I haven't dealt with yet that would be helpful to me to consider before I enter. But then there's also a fear that is not from God, that just is going to prevent us from taking the next step. Something that's taking away our joy that is probably not from God, and to remember to go with that brings us life, and to talk to others to diminish those fears.